A few years ago, I was teaching a Bible class, and a student who's usually engaged was slouching in her chair. And as I taught, her eyes were glazed over, and then her eyes shut, and then she was asleep. And I realized that was like a wake-up call to me. I realized I had to do something differently. I went home and shared the story with my wife, whose immediate response was, "You had a Eutychus in your class." And she was talking about Acts 20, where Paul talks on and on one evening, and a young man named Eutychus falls asleep during Paul's lesson. As I shared the experience that I had with other teachers, I learned that other teachers welcome ideas to help them have more attentive students and more engaging lessons. And so I started a journey to learn again what it was to become a teacher. And what I discovered is that there are some basic principles that we can use as teachers to help us have more engaging lessons. There are some tips that we can use to help students be more active in their learning. Teaching isn't just about content, as valuable as that is, and as important as content is. Teaching is also about inviting students to do something, to feel something, to think something. I've learned that teaching is less monotonous whenever we use a variety of teaching strategies that engage students and keep them involved in the learning process. I asked a group of students recently to participate in a small group conversation where I gave them a question that they would discuss with the people sitting around them. But instead of sitting in their seats, I asked them to stand up and to walk, leave the room and walk around the building and come back, and then we would talk about their answers. And what I discovered is that students loved this activity. They loved the idea of going and moving and not just sitting, but participating actively and doing something together. I believe that volunteer teachers and small group leaders may be the largest volunteer force in the world. But we haven't all been trained in education or studied teaching methods. And I wanted to do something about that. I wanted to provide a resource that would be easy to use and helpful to volunteers. I've written a book for volunteer teachers and small group leaders. This is a resource that's easy to use and will be helpful as you create lessons and provide environments where learners can engage in the process of their own education.